Greetings and welcome. My name is Cameron Miller, and this is a sermon for the fourth Sunday of Easter season. It begins with an excerpt from the poem by Mary Oliver we heard, The Messenger. Are my boots old? Is my coat worn? Am I no longer young and still not half perfect? Let me keep my mind on what matters, which is my work, which is mostly standing still and learning to be astonished. Now, most people would hear that and ask, what kind of work is that? Loving the world, she answers. Her work, she said, was loving the world, and that's a pretty good summation of our work too, loving the world. Now, Mary Oliver loved the world with her poems. So standing still and learning to be astonished was her methodology, was the methodology of her work. What is our work? Yours and mine. How are you loving the world? Now, I have a nagging curiosity about how something is going to turn out. It's the kind of thing I may never get to know, but I keep wondering about it. It has to do with God, which is a subject that I am endlessly curious about, and for which I almost never get any kind of good information. But here's my curiosity. From the beginning to the very end, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the three sister or brother religions, depending upon your gender frame of reference, are revelation religions, revelation. And what I mean by that is that these three religions claim that the only things that we can know about God are what God wants us to know. The word itself, revelation, literally means to unveil or to lay bare. So, make naked, we could even say. So, what we can know about God is only what God has unveiled. Now, think literally about a veil, a thin silk veil that God lifts to reveal some small part of God's self. Or, on other occasions, a kind of sheer, gauzy material that blows gently between us and the holy. Never quite clear and open, but tantalizingly almost. But it's a one-sided deal. God gets to decide what we know and do not know, and we can do nothing, absolutely nothing, to gain knowledge or perspective that God doesn't want us to have. Now, Christian theologians would say that Psalm 23, which was another one of our readings today, and John's metaphor about Jesus as the Good Shepherd in John 10, 1 through 10, that these are revelations that tell us something about God. And as such, whatever it is they tell us is trustworthy. Biblical literalists and fundamentalists would say that these are examples of a direct revelation, and in fact, the Bible is the only source of divine revelation, they would say. Now, our tradition here says that the Bible is only one source of revelation, and that in fact, on its own, just left on its own, just read it by itself, doesn't reveal God. Rather, that what we read in the Bible must be mediated, must be mixed and blended, to use a food metaphor, with our historic experience and with our ability to learn and to reason and to be interpreted and reinterpreted. In fact, it is endlessly interpreted because our reason and our experience continues to change. So what our tradition says is that yes, God must unveil God's self for us to know anything. But the history of those revelations must be viewed from the lens of our current experience and our ability to reason in order to parse the wheat from the chaff. And it's also done in community. It isn't an individual sport. If someone claims to have a direct revelation, it must be shared and explored and filtered and confirmed through the community. We do not trust individuals to deliver direct revelation, say Joseph Smith or Louis Farrakhan. We do not trust individual human voices that claim to know the truth, to unveil God for us. Revelation is always mediated and confirmed through community, which means it's always requiring time and patience to bless and to grow it. So that's what our smaller tradition here in the larger Episcopal Church within the greater historic religion says. But today, fewer and fewer people trust our religion or our community within the religion to have dependable information about God. At least in the United States and Europe, where Christianity has held sway for so long, there are fewer and fewer who trust it. We just do not have much credibility. And so I wonder, and here going back to what my curiosity is, I wonder how God will choose to unveil God's self as we go forward. The whole idea that wisdom is a community event and one that requires time and patience to bless and grow it is anathema to our culture. Waiting? Time? Patience? Not directly accessible to me? My own? What kind of product is that? It's no product at all, in fact. Perhaps that's one reason for the growing popularity of unrevealed religions like Buddhism. To Americans, enlightenment looks a lot like something an individual should be able to achieve, as if get the right technique, get the right wisdom, get the right teacher, and bang, it's just a matter of time before you get enlightened, right? Wrong, not even. It feels to me as though we are at the bottom of the Tower of Babel. Everyone shouting at one another in different languages, but no one understanding what the others are saying. Throw in the history of institutional abuse of power and misuse of resources, not to mention clergy sexual abuse, and there is a massive, massive mistrust, as well as a cacophony of strange languages. And the sheep listen to the voice of the shepherd, John wrote. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out, and they follow him because they know his voice. Though I walk in the vale of death's shadow, I fear no harm, for you are with me. I think about my own life and why I'm here in this place with you, my community, and I know it's only because of my experience in the community and my willingness to stick it out over time that I know God's voice, or more accurately, that I have ever heard God's small whisper. On my own, with only the mediation of my own ego and my own limited experiences, what I've heard or known would be so much different. Scary, I think. Self-serving without a doubt. So I'm curious. I'm curious how and where and to whom God will unveil God's self going forward. And then where the community is that will mediate and confirm what gets heard. But like I said, I may never get to know. Not your worry, Miller, God would say. So whatever may happen in the days and years and decades ahead, we're stuck with the old technology, historic revelation mediated through community. So then the question is, how can we increase our trustworthiness? How can we improve our credibility? And the answer, it seems to me, is given to us by Mary Oliver, among others. Our work is loving the world. Now that will likely not be through poetry. So what do we have with which to love the world? That's both an individual challenge and a community one. You have to do your own inventory for your personal question. What do you have? What do you have with which to love the world and love the world better? But we can ask that together as a community and as a communal kind of challenge. What do we have with which to love the world and love the world better? We have money. We have space. We have hospitality. We have an open table. We have a loving gathering. We have shared wisdom. We have shared values forming community. We have a vision. We have a mission. We have experiences of change and being changed. We have opportunity. We have all that, even more, with which to love the world together. And that is our work. If we can trust what we have learned so far about God from our historic community, it is that God will be made known whenever and wherever we love the world. We can trust that. We can trust loving the world as our shepherd. And I think the Good Shepherd would approve of that. Thank you for being here. And I wish you well, loving the world, all that world around you. Thanks for being part of this world.